Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil. We're inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is still in the lab. I did get a chance to spend some time with Mike Washington on Friday, so I can testify that he is still
breathing,
working and breathing. Yeah, he is still alive and well. In fact, we want to send him a happy belated birthday, as his actual birthday was just yesterday, and got a chance to kick it with him a little bit, if you let us use that parlance, as they say. They're in Dallas, end up going to the Dallas Mavericks game and was having way too much fun, as many of the members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated were all together. The brothers, if you would. A little bit of Eta Gamma chapter, Delta Gamma chapter, Alabama A&M and Prairie View, with the twins doing their thing. Coach Payne, Mike Washington, a lot of us, and Alphas of Prairie View together, and just tomfoolery. Just a lot of old-fashioned fun. So welcome to episode 648 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show covering for the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NEIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios and sending a signal live, KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, I should say multi-Hall of Famer, and the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, Charles, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Doc. Feels good to be back home, back in Houston this week. Of course, spent all last week in New York, minorities in the sports outing with students from Texas Southern. They did a tremendous job in terms of representing Texas Southern, being in front of some of the top sports agencies, top marketing minds in the world. They got exposed to that, so it was great to be a part of that. So it's great to come back here, and I got right back in the mix, called games this weekend, Texas Southern and Arkansas Pine Bluff. So, it turned a few heads. So, we were right back in the mix of things.
Yeah, the wrong team brought out the broom.
Oh, they did. They brought their broom to Houston.
Certainly a team that was not necessarily expected to. I should say it like that. But yes, credit to the Golden Line coming down to Houston, Texas, and having their own party in terms of getting it done. Kudos for them. Interesting. While the Grambling State Tigers went on down the road, 290, if you would, Prairie View, decided to bring their brooms too. So, you talking about the Texas two-step. It was done a little differently this time.
I know. They two-step right out of here. I tell you.
With that being said, some of the agencies, what were some of the students that were able to get down that we was able to send? Texas Southern University, as the dean, I was excited about that opportunity. Certainly hear that they were extremely impressive. So appreciate you being able to make that work as lead professor, getting down there and representing for Texas Southern University. What some places do you recall that they got to visit? I know the NFL Players Association from that side, but they also got to do with some of these large really global, certainly national sporting agencies.
Yeah, you mentioned the NFL league office, so they got an opportunity to visit there. But they visit Wasserman Group Sports Agency, as well as William Morris Endeavor, another big, huge sports agency. The Publicist Group there in New York, Excel Sports Management, and then of course they got an opportunity to get in front of CAA Creative Artists Agency in terms of some of their clients that they had. So it was a tremendous opportunity. I want to shout out. There's a Texas Southern alumnus. That's one of the brand consultants at CAA, Taylor Hood. So she did a tremendous job in showing Texas Southern students around, and they got a tremendous opportunity to hold court with some of the brightest marketing minds in sports and entertainment. And they held serve for 3 hours. It was a meeting that probably would have been 30 minutes, but these students did such a bang up job. We were in there for about 3 hours. So it was a tremendous opportunity, tremendous learning opportunity, not just for myself, but definitely for the students.
And in a couple of weeks, we'll be having our symposium here, AI HBCU Sports Ecosystem I should say series, where we will move forward ongoing, bringing in different components of sports and athletics, specifically looking more at the collegiate level. So excited to be able to bring some of the leading ADs, HBCU programs, and different individuals down here to speak to our students about getting in the business of sport. With that being said, before I turn it back to you, I'm going to talk about fist gymnastics. Specifically, the gymnast Morgan Price wins another national championship from HBCU sports. She is getting it done, and she is for the Fisk University brand. Shout out to the coach that is leading this expertise in terms of what's going on here. History repeated itself on Friday. Fisk University Morgan Price cemented her legacy in collegiate gymnastics by winning her second consecutive all-around national championships at the Women's Collegiate Gymnastic National Invitational Championship, that's better known as WCGNIC, competing against some of the best gymnasts in the country. Price delivered a stellar performance, scoring 39.35 to edge out Southeast Missouri State's Taylor Engel at 39.30, and Bridgeport's Abigail Kinney 38.95. Price, as a junior in the face of Fisk's groundbreaking gymnastic program, showcased poise and skill across all 4 events, or scores included. Check this out, Charles. 9.775 on the vault, 9.85 on the uneven bars, and event high 9.9 on the balance beam, and 9.825 on the floor exercise. No, you have a different perspective of this. Is your daughter got into some gymnastics for a while there before she decided to go in a different sporting direction. So I imagine when you see this, you're like, yeah, I remember a little bit about that.
I do. I remember well. I remember traveling all over the place. So those gymnastics meets on Sundays and whatnot. So,
spending that money too. These results not only secured her the all-around title, but also qualified her for 4 individual event finals on Sunday. I've dedicated so much effort to these moments, Price said after a victory. I just wanted to go out there, give it my all, and perform as I usually do. It feels amazing to see everything align, end quote. Nice statement. This championship marks another milestone for Price and the Fisk University Gymnastics program, which made history as the first HBCU team, collegiate gymnastics, to win its launched in 2022. Last year, Price became the first gymnast for a historically black college or university to win a national title, and she has continued to elevate the program's profile with her performance. Price continues to be a trailblazer for HBCU gymnastics. Big applause to the gymnast, if you would, Morgan Price.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I tell you what, to do it back to back, that speaks volumes. So
yeah, it lets you know it wasn't no accident. We already knew that. She made sure she stamped on it. It's like, no, I'm here. I'm here for you.
Exactly.
What other news that you want to share out there that has you thinking twice at the time?
Well, let's take a look at, and this is from today. We take a look at the SWAC Men's Golf Championship. Going to be kudos going out to the Florida A&M golf program, as it looks as though they will be winners from a team perspective, as they shot a plus 12. That SWAC Men's Golf Championship was, of course, at Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail at Oxmoor Valley in Birmingham yesterday and today. So FAMU looks like they will be the men's champion. And on the women's side, it will go to Alabama State.
Oh, State back in the winning circle.
Alabama State back in the women's back in the winner's circle as they shot plus 74 on 2 days. So they get it done. So still waiting to see who the individual medalists are because we got some tie scores. But kudos to Florida State. I'm sorry, the FAMU men golf program and Alabama State women.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Heard the other day that kudos for those two programs, but it looks like we have an interest from Jackson State getting back into the mix of golf. So
back in the golf business.
Yeah. So that's fascinating to see. That will be intriguing as we move forward to see what that looks like. Let me go in this basketball in some direction. Zay Green, former UAPB star selected by Washington Mystics in WNBA draft with the 32nd overall pick of 2025 WNBA draft from former Arkansas Pine Bluff All-SWAC guard Zay Green. Heard her name called by the Washington Mystics, the former HBCU star, becomes the first Golden Lion to ever be selected in the WNBA draft and the third SWAC player to be picked in the basketball 4 years. Green transferred to Arkansas Pine Bluff in 2021 after brief stints at the University of Tennessee and Texas A&M. From 2016-2020, she spent 3 seasons with the Golden Lions. She missed the 2022-23 season due to injury and was named the All-SWAC team in her final year. In 55 games at UAPB, Green averaged 16.3, 7.7 rebounds, and 5.3 assists, along with 2.1 steals before transferring to Alabama. There, she helped lead the Crimson Tide to an NCAA tournament opening round win over Green Bay, scoring 22 points on 60% shooting from the field. Green is one of 3 guards selected by the Mystics in this year's draft, along with first-round picks Sonia Citron and Georgia Amore. Interesting when you talk about Zay Green. We said that when everybody saw her. We knew that she could play, that's for sure. And she used to entertain many of the fans, certainly at UAPB and along those fans across the SWAC when she came to the arena. We got a chance to see her on TV. Unfortunately, Diamond Johnson was not taken in the WNBA draft. So media reacts to insanity from HBCU sports. People were not happy the fact that Norfolk State guard Diamond Johnson, one of the most decorated players in HBCU women's basketball, was not selected during the 2025 WNBA draft. Omission comes despite widespread projection and strong performances. It had many expected to hear her name called. Johnson, a Philadelphia native, capped her collegiate career with a stellar run in Norfolk State after transferring from North Carolina State in 2023. The past season, she averaged 19.2 points, 4.3 assists, and led the MEAC with 3.6 steals per game, earning her the MEAC Player of the Year award and a spot on an all-defensive team. Hopefully she gets undrafted invite to a camp and then shows off, which still is unfortunate because it's notification and historical if you're actually obviously drafted. So that will happen for Diamond Johnson, which a lot of people are not happy with. Any thoughts on those two individuals?
Zay Green, like you talked about, we saw when she was at UAPB. She had that next level talent set in terms of getting to the WNBA. And you thought that same talent set was there in the form of Diamond Johnson. And there's, I think, going to come a point where we do the WNBA kind of the same way. We kind of, put that microscope under, NFL in terms of how they evaluate these players because, Diamond Johnson, she did it on the Power 5 level, transferred to Norfolk State and continued to keep doing it. So it was really surprising to not hear her name called. Like you said, she should get an invite to camp. But, that quite honestly, that's a really tough route to go. It can happen, but, we've seen that, with young lady from Jackson State. She was drafted late, but wasn't able to get through camp. So, we'll just kind of see how that kind of works out with regards to Diamond Johnson. But the skill set is there.
Well, certainly what I thought, but we will keep pushing forward and ask those questions. With that being said, Charles, what other news that you want to share that's on your mind at this time?
Let's take a look at the South Carolina State women. They clinched a third consecutive MEAC regular season title. The South Carolina State women's tennis team has secured the 2025 MEAC regular season championship following a 5-2 win over Norfolk State. The title marks the third consecutive regular season crown for the Lady Bulldogs. South Carolina State now stands at 11-4 overall and remains undefeated in MEAC play with a 6-0 record. The team is riding a 9-match win streak as it enters the final stretch of the regular season with 2 matches remaining before postseason play. So the Lady Bulldogs were led by head coach Hardy Judge. Will enter the 2025 MEAC Tennis Championship, which is scheduled for April 24th through the 26th in Cary, North Carolina, with their sights set on a 6th consecutive and 19th overall conference tournament title.
Man, you can't stop these folks. They're getting it done like that. Interesting when you talk about just how dominant the program can be, and that's certainly an example of what that looks like. Got these tennis tournaments coming up.
Yeah,
fascinating to kind of see what that looks like. I also want to give a little nod to some of these coaching careers that come to an end. You have North Carolina Central's legend Davis Richard is back at the HBCU football this time as a coach. He certainly was a stellar in terms of his career. We got to cover him quite a bit. It was fascinating in terms of what that looks like. And so kudos as he gets it back in the fro roughly a year and a half ago after playing his last game for the Maroon and Gray, which is now assuming the role of quarterback coach. It is something that he wanted to do, but not this soon. After finishing his career with the HBCU national title and a trophy case full of accolades, Richard turned his attention to the 2024 NFL draft in hopes of becoming the first quarterback selected from a historically Black college since 2006, with a goal line run in the HBCU Legacy Bowl, an all-star game designed to showcase the talent, ended up dislocating his right ankle and ultimately ended his playing career. So fascinating to see what he's going to able to do on that side. It reminds me a while back with KJ Black in terms of how well he was even able to play his last year. Obviously in the offseason he got hurt, but he was able to go through the coaching circuit, and now he is a coach with the Atlanta Falcons. So you never know where it leads you in your opportunities after becoming an offensive coordinator, moving from Prairie View to FAMU. So wish the best for Davis Richards to see what this opportunity lends for him. Let's take our first break. We'll come back on the other side, and then we'll get in here and see what we're going to talk about in the next segment. We'll get into some rankings. We'll look at the SWAC baseball rankings and get your thoughts in terms of where it stands. We're officially at the halfway mark. We might even get a couple of midterm grades, as you would say, or the lab grades for the halfway season, and then we'll come back after that first break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get into some of these rankings as we get in the first half of the SWAC. Let's start with those teams at the bottom. Which has changed around after this weekend. We talked about in the intro a couple of teams bringing out the broom. But currently what you have is Alcorn State Braves, 1-13, 5-26, losing streak of 1 in terms of what took place. You have Alabama A&M, 2-13, 9-26, lost 3. Prairie A&M University at 4-8, 8-27. They lost 10 straight. And then you have Mississippi Valley State at 5-7, who won their last game, got a win out of FAMU. Forced them into a tie to Bethune-Cookman. Wildcats at the top of the conference, but we'll talk about them in a little bit. But let's look at these 4 teams. If we break this down into thirds, if you would, we'll look at that bottom, last third of the teams. Let me start with you, Charles. Any of those teams are a surprise? And anybody in that group do you give above a grade of a D?
Unfortunately, I can't. Prairie View is a shocker to me because I know the talent they got in the outfield. I mean, they got some serious talent, and unless they've had some injuries along the way, it is beyond shocking to me that they've lost 10 in a row right now. And you never know with regards to arms in the bullpen in terms of whether they've had some injuries there, but it's been a struggle, and they have too potent an offense to see them where they are right now.
Yeah, they're struggling pretty big there. Let me go to Brandon and see his thoughts on these 4 teams. Anybody there that you give above a grade of a D? Are you like Charles and I like, okay, Charles.
Yeah, this is brutal.
No curve for Charles. He got a curve ball, but he ain't curving no grade.
I got more.
Look, I gotta kind of agree with Charles on this one. This is brutal to put it bluntly. I mean, and you touched on it. I mean, 10 in a row. You got the longest losing streak in the conference. If you combine the losing streaks of every other team in the conference, you still wouldn't get to 10. So they're really struggling right now, and they're not playing some quality baseball at all. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on down there. But yeah, when you look around the conference, I know the last time we were on here, we talked a little bit about baseball and you look at the top of the conference and look who's there again, Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman. So I don't know how the seeding in the tournament will shake out, but it's looking like they could see each other again in the finals of the conference tournament. But yeah, there's a lot of teams struggle. But
yeah, no problem. I'm gonna flip it up a little bit here and do this in terms of the quadrants. I said 4, but I'm doing this in 3 because I want to sneak Valley up a level. I think where people thought they were, they may get in a better grade. Maybe they got a C. So I'm gonna see and ask you specific on them. But when I add that in, I want to go with Jackson State that sits at 5-10, the same record as Valley in the conference standing. They've won a game. You have Southern that's won their last two. They have a loss to the Braves that opened up that series, but they will jump back and get 2 out of 3. So you have those 3 teams, Mississippi Valley State, Jackson State, and Southern. With Southern, they're sitting at 7 and 8. They've won a couple of games now. So they've kind of crawled out that hole that you had them early. But what do you give Valley at this point? Do you stick them with a D? And we're moving up. The Jackson State and Southern, do they got a C? Or do you have a different framework based on expectations? I'll go with you again, Charles. What are your thoughts?
Actually, Valley getting to 10 wins, that to me resonates in terms of where they've been. So I can probably have them right at a C-. I mean, they're still, working through the kinks, in terms of that baseball program, but it caught my eye that they've gotten to double-digit wins, and I don't know if Valley has got a double-digit wins. In I'd have to go back and take a look at and see whether they've gotten double-digit wins over the past few years.
Good stuff. Let me go to you, Brandon. Valley, because they were picked to finish last, do you do more than a D for them? In Southern Jackson State, these are programs. Southern a little sending now, so maybe a little different there. Do you give them more than a C, or because of expectations, do you grade them a little harsher there?
Well, I might give Valley a D plus because, like you said, with them being picked to be in the basement of the conference and them getting the double-digit wins, I don't think that's something that a lot of people had on their SWAC baseball bingo card heading into the season. So I would give them a D plus. And then, like I said, when you look at Southern, which seems to maybe be on the verge of picking it up a little bit, but you consider historically how that program has been. They're still kind of underneath the Mendoza line from their program and their expectations. So when you look at that, I kind of gotta knock you a little bit, and I gotta slot you at a C- for that, because you're competing with your own expectations.
And not to slight Alcorn, but Southern has that they can't lose a game at Alcorn. That was shocking to me this weekend. I couldn't believe that. And I'm trying not to slight Alcorn on that, but yeah, come on.
Wow. Okay. All right. Let me keep it moving because that was a tough one. He sounded like a professor. He's a little bit upset there. Next 3, Arkansas Pine Bluff, 6-6. They got a big sweep coming here to Texas Southern, winning 3 straight games. You got Grambling State has kind of righted their ship. They're sitting right there at 10-5. They've won 4 straight games to include in that. And then you have Texas Southern that fell, I should say, to 10-5. That puts them still in this second quadrant, if you would, in terms of the top there. But they've lost 3 straight. I went in there as probably Arkansas Pine Bluff at 6-6. But depending on where you thought they would start the season, you might look at them a little different. So I'm going to go with you, Brandon, first. And it may be a little harder to kind of fight between these two, but give me some thoughts in terms of at least 2 of these, if not all 3 of these teams, and what grades you giving them.
Well, I'd say this: when you look at Arkansas Pine Bluff and Grambling, you're talking about 2 of right now the hottest 3 teams in the conference, with Grambling being on a 4-game winning streak and Pine Bluff on a 3-game. They got a big win, going down into Texas Southern and getting 3 off the Tigers. So maybe they're kind of trending in a positive direction. So looks like they're starting to play some good baseball. What was the other team? My mind just went blank. Just that fast.
Yeah, the Grambling State at 10-5 and Texas Southern at 10-5. One has won 4 straight, which is Grambling, and Texas Southern had lost 3 straight, including getting swept here in Houston, McGregor Park, with Charles on the call. Just slide that in there. Texas Southern is the one also tied with Grambling at 10-5, but they lost 3 straight, as I said, getting the brooms brought out on them.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get swept at home like that. You let them come in and get 3 up off you, and that kind of causes you to tumble down the conference standings there. Because even if you go 2 out of 3, you're still right up there in the mix with Bethune and
That's
FAMU.
right.
So now, you dropping that at home, you've got some work to do. I know we're at the halfway point of the season, but you've got to pick it up to kind of get back up in that top 2 or 3.
Really good points. Good point. Well, let's get to the cream of the crop. Let's get to these top 3 and where it gets a little fun and see what's going on here. Alabama State, 11-4. They did lose 1 this weekend, but they sit right there in second place. They're 2 games back with Bethune-Cookman at 13-2. They got the sweep with FAMU tied with them at the top at 13-2. FAMU, well, on the road, it was game 3 Sunday. They did let one get away from Mississippi Valley. This is a Valley team that's playing much better.
Adrian Crook. I see you.
Hey, man, they say Grambling cheating on the test, man.
Oh, I looked up. You got me on that one, man. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, that's funny in terms of baseball. They're good information. But with that being said, I'm gonna go with you, Charles, first after that big laugh and comment there, as we talking about baseball, man. Folks say, man, they spitting on the glove.
Hey, they brought something to prove you this weekend. I don't know. They come out of there with a sweep. Say, gee, boy, they were knocking the ball this weekend. But you take a look at these top 3 teams, and I think the common denominator with all 3 of them, they are, in the top 3 in pitching in the SWAC. They got the arm, so and their record proves it. They got timely hitting. You see them go in and they don't play around. I was a little bit shocked. Valley got 1 off of FAMU this weekend, but FAMU's, they've been getting those sweeps. So.
Yeah, good stuff. Let me go to you, Brandon. What are your thoughts in terms of these top 3 teams? Can FAMU, Cookman, they play this weekend. We'll talk about that a little later. But where are you in terms of these 3 teams at the top of the column?
Like I said, right now, this is the cream of the crop in the league. So if you're every other team in the SWAC, this is who you're looking up to. I know that like I said, FAMU unexpectedly dropped that 1 to Valley, but when you look at how they've been playing all season, if they're the best 1 or 2 teams in the league, and I'm not saying they're 2. And like I said, they've got the hitting and the arms and the way I look at it, if you want to go through and get the SWAC title, it's got to come through Tallahassee. The way they are playing and continue to play. So every other team in the conference, they've got their work cut out for them. So when we look at grading these top 3, I think, I'm reticent to pull out A's, but I can definitely give out a couple B's here, maybe a B+ to FAMU. But no, they dropped 1 to Valley. I got to give them a B. I can't give them a B+. I get 3 B's. 3 B's.
That's fair.
Man, how you not gonna give Bethune-Cookman an A?
Yeah, I was about to say Bethune-Cookman.
They didn't drop
They on TV.
the 1 to Valley. They swept Valley.
All right, I give them a B+. I give them a B+.
All right. I'm just saying, man, that's going to be an exciting series. And it is in Daytona, which means the Cat Eye Network will have it on the air. So one person I know will be tuned in with one eye over there, checking that out, because that should be some really good baseball. Obviously, these are rivalries, and that makes it interesting enough to get into it. So again, we'll get a chance maybe to talk a little bit on the back end in segment 4. Next segment, we're going to go to D2. We're going to look a little bit at SIAC. Some teams have gotten hot, Golden Rams maybe, as we said that they were a little down. Well, it looks like they've caught fire. We'll talk a little bit about them and the other teams at the top that are holding steady. With that being said, we'll take a second break and come back on the other side. Look at some of these teams in the SIAC. With that, we'll be right back after this next break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cavill's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Cavill's Voice, Cavill's Voice, CavilsVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Well, this is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Professor King and Professor Bishop. Let's get in this SIAC team. There's some teams struggling over there too, starting with Kentucky State. They're just 1-24 in conference, 3-32 overall. They lost 9 of their last 10. And so they're on the struggle bus for sure. We got Lemoyne Owens at 7-19, 14-20, 3-7 in their last 10. Tuskegee are not playing good baseball. 9-18, 13-28, 2-8 in their last 10. And then Morehouse down there with them. So at Morehouse, Tuskegee rivalry is still good, but in this case, not in a good way. As they are 9-15, 15-18 overall, and 4-6. A little better over their last 10, but still struggling. I'm not much what you can say in terms of that. I guess we can look at grades. Which direction, Charles, are you going with the grade of these 4 teams? Do you give them collectively one type of grade, or are you going to selectively give one of them worse? I guess Kentucky State, it's hard to even get them in the D framework.
Yeah, I was about to say, I
was going to try to maybe give them a D.
No, you got one game on the ledger. I can't even get you. What do you say, F square? That's a Cavil special on 1-24. So,
Oh man, it's tough. I tried Kentucky State. Brandon, do you see any way up there that you're gonna try to help the Thoroughbreds out, or are you in the same vein? The other 3, maybe some D's, and Kentucky State is hard to push them up, even with the curve.
Look, go ahead and just walk Kentucky State out to the glue factory, because it's a 1 and whatever. They're 1-24. So, I mean, there's not much to say about the bottom 4 here. So, yeah, I'm gonna give Kentucky State an F cubed, and I'm going to give the other 3 Fs right now. Yeah, 3 Fs and an F cubed.
He didn't add it to my stuff. He didn't put a cube in it. We're gonna look at the next 3. I'm gonna slide Benedict up a little bit, and you maybe see why when we get to them. I'm looking at these 3. Clark Atlanta, they're 5-5 in the last 10, but they're just 12-16 in terms of conference play. 17-19, not too far out of that 500 mark, sitting right there. You got Lane that's 11-12 in conference play, 11-24 overall, 2-8 in the last 10, so struggling as of late, along with Miles, that has a winning record in the conference, 13-12, but they have struggled of late. They're 18-20-1. overall, but they're just 2-8 also, along with Lane in their last 10. So they need to find some wins quickly before they find themselves totally out of the race, even for those top seeds from now. So let's look at those three, if you would. Clark Atlanta, Lane, and Miles. What do you look at those three teams, Brandon? Where are you going with your gradings?
So Clark is 5-5 in the last 10, and you touched on Lane and Miles respectively are 2-8. Miles, they just coming off getting swept by Albany State. So looking at assigning grades, I'm going to give Clark a C-, only because they're at least 5-5 in their last 4. But these three, like I said, they're in the danger zone right now in terms of potentially losing touch with the upper portion of the conference, and 2 of the 3 are not playing good baseball. So yeah, I'm gonna give them 2 D's. Yeah.
I think you're right in line. I have to agree with you a little bit. You know, I'm a fan of Clark Atlanta, but baseball is not the thing right now. They winning everything else. Baseball, they got to figure it out a little more. Charles, where are you with these three programs? Miles, Lane, and Clark Atlanta. Miles is the one that's surprising me, though.
Yeah, Miles is the one that's surprising. I was ready to bump Clark up, to at least a C, playing, good 500 ball over the past few games, but I saw they were playing Kentucky State, so that hurt their C. So we back in the deep.
You can't get but so excited.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second, they playing some decent. Oh, okay. All right.
It means when you got the paper, you found out they were using notes.
Yeah. They had good AI going, ChatGPT going on.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's look at these next 4. Spring Hill is at the top of the conference. Obviously not an HBCU, but they're in the SIAC. We do want to acknowledge that they're getting it done in the conference. Again, they're just winning. They've won 9 straight. They're 24-2 overall and 31-9. They just sweeping teams left and right. They haven't lost a series since they started the conference play. So that's a thing of the past. But let's look at these last 4 behind them at the top of the conference. Obviously, all HBCUs, starting with Benedict, that's 15-11. They've won 8 of their last 10. So they're playing pretty good baseball of late. Know if they're getting it done against those bottom teams. You got Albany State that we were questioning just a couple of weeks ago, but it looks like they've gotten hot. They're also 8 of 10 for their last 10 in terms of going 8-2, I should say. They're 17-9 in the conference race. So they're battling in terms of those second and third spots is what you're looking at. Spring Hill is pretty much class of the conference. They're going to get that number 1 seed going into the SIA tournament. But where you're going to be seeding, to me, was going to be important because you want to get in that 2 or 3rd seed. So if you can do your damage during the tournament, you can at least stay away from Spring Hill championship game and see what you can do then and see if you can get a little magic in the tournament, if you would. Sitting in that 3rd slot right now is Edward Waters. That is 19-8. They played some pretty good baseball all year long. They continue to get it done, 26-15, as you see with their record. They're 8-2 in their last 10 to let you know what that looks like. So fascinating to see what's going on there. You have Savannah State. It really has bounced back this season in a lot of ways, and they're really the class behind Spring Hill, sitting at 20-7. They're 23-10 overall, 8-2. In terms of what goes on with the tournament, you look at postseason play. It's fascinating to see what that looks like. You don't usually get but 1 team out of the conference, but you do have the HBCU World Series. So these are some teams that are setting themselves up. If they do not get that postseason invite in terms of the NCAA Division II tournament, you do have the opportunity to see if you can make a run at a championship in the Black College World Series. With that being said, Charles, with you, what are your thoughts on these top 4 teams The outliers a little bit is Benedict. They're still at 15-11. You know, they're literally 4 slots out behind Savannah State, if you would, and just 2 games behind Albany State that's red hot. And all these teams are 8-10, 8-2, I should say, of their last 10. So that's an interesting thing to me in terms of what's going on between these 10. So, Charles, what are your thoughts, grades, specifically on any or all of these teams?
It's very interesting when you take a look at Edward Waters, Benedict, and Savannah State all being 8-2. From a statistical standpoint, Benedict is the best hitting team in SIC, hitting 335. I automatically dropped down to see how's the pitching, and it's like, okay, they got a 7.55 ERA. So how sustainable are the bats going down the stretch? I'm sure it depends on who they're playing, but some of the matchups I think against Savannah State, Albany State, and Edward Waters, I want to say Savannah State is hell served with regards to what they've done against those teams. So I really look for Savannah State to keep momentum going down the stretch.
Brandon, what are your thoughts in terms of these top 4 teams behind Spring Hill lining themselves up for seeding in the tournament? What are you looking for as they're playing good baseball right now, at least in their last 10? And what are your thoughts in terms of grades?
Yeah, I think you've got these teams that are kind of lining up behind Spring Hill. Outside of what they've done, they're arguably playing collectively some of the best baseball in the conference, going to combine 32-8 over their last 10 games.
Nice.
And so when and we talked about it, the couple weeks ago, Albany State looked like they were just floundering around, and like I said, they've picked it up.
They picked it up, yeah,
big time. Actually, they had one of their players was pitcher of the week. He's 8-1 on the season, so they're coming into their own and playing baseball, the best baseball heading into the tournament. But in close, I'm going to say this: they close it out against Kentucky State, so womp womp on that. I mean, you should they should take care of business on that. So with that being said, I'm going to give 3 B pluses for these teams because there's one A plus team in the conference, and that's Spring Hill. But they've these other 4 they've picked it up, so now I can confidently give them B pluses.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Nothing to get too excited about over next week. Don't seem that the schedule will change. You should get a couple of sweeps, but it'll be fascinating to see. When you talk about Savannah State, Edward Waters, and Albany State, guess what? They play Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, which may be the biggest matchup at this point, and then Kentucky State, Savannah State, Edward Waters, Albany State this weekend. And even Benedict has gone to face Kentucky State in a couple of weeks. So not a lot going on in terms of these matchups. So as they go down the stretch, it'll be fascinating as this is the last week play before you find out what are the seedings for the tournament. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. Who can get the sweeps? Somebody gets to hold on to their position and being able to do what you're supposed to against teams that you played better baseball in the season is going to be extremely important. As I said, what you want to look at here for me is that 2 and 3 slot. Can you stay in the 2 and 3 slot so you go deep in the tournament? You stay away from Spring Hill until the championship game, and that's what you see Albany State, and which is going to come in terms of who gets that that final slot there. With that being said, let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk about a couple of matchups in the SWAC, see what your thoughts are there. Tease you out with a little updates in terms of what's going on in softball. We'll do that between MEAC and SWAC. And then, again, we'll call it a show with that. We'll be right back after this last break.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
There's a shot. It might be. It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We talk about the SIAC. We got 2 weeks left in conference, so I said going down the stretch is going to be fascinating to see who can hold those seeds. With that being said,
hold on real quick, Rod. Rod,
yeah.
You have a video from this weekend? I was trying to play the video. I thought we were gonna come out of the break playing the video though.
Let's see if we can get it done for the end of the show.
Tough up.
A little bit of video, give them a chance to look at it. Well, looks like we'll better get it going now. Let's see, get into it as we talk about some good video here. As we're getting that video squared away, let's talk about some of these players' superlatives, baseball-wise. Batting average, Cardell is still doing his thing. Oh, there we go. What's the call, man? Pine Bluff. Give us some love to Pine Bluff as they just bringing out the bat.
Little triple play action, Doc. We lost the audio.
Allen hits it back to Prieto. Prieto doubles the runner at first, and they throw to third to complete the triple play. Well, we move to the bottom of the seventh. You don't see that every day. 19-9 is your score. We'll be back here on the Texas Southern Sports Network.
Man, I tell you, Charles getting excited about a triple player that scored 19 tonight.
I saw a triple play and 4 home runs from one player. I was like, hey, you don't get that every day.
Oh, the player also had the 4 home runs?
Oh, yeah. player had 4 home runs in a 19-9 game. Yeah.
Man, that's a big deal. All those RBIs, boy, he playing some baseball.
Yeah.
With that being said, talking about home runs, Cardell Southern is sitting at the top of the league with 14. Behind him is Andrew Martinez at 11. Juan Cruz, Alabama State, sits at 10. Damian Garcia, just talked about Texas Southern at 9. and Cameron Hill also with 9 in terms of your top 5. Batting average, Cardell Thibodeau is still doing his same thing. He's leading in home runs as well as batting average, so he's hitting for power and for average at 467. Credit to him. Trey Rutledge is sitting at 433 at Alabama A&M. While the Bulldogs are struggling, Trey is not. Eric Williams is another one. While Valley, you can see maybe a little bit of this surge that they're able to get done. Part of Eric Williams is certainly doing his side batting at 419. You have Juan Cruz, another guy that's not only doing it for power, but for average in terms of the Alabama State Hornets. Jackson State gets into the top 5 in terms of batters getting done, which is Joseph Eichelberger at 411, letting you know what goes on there. Talking about hitting for power and batting average, Brandon, what are your thoughts on some of these players? You see 2 of them that are able to do it on both sides of the bat, which I think is very impressive. What about you?
Well, first of all, yeah, like I said, we got some guys in the SWAC that are knocking the cover off the baseball. But when you can hit for power as well as average, that means that you're not, from a batting standpoint, a one-trick pony. That means if you're not hitting the ball out of the ballpark, you're still putting it in play, and you're still getting yourself on base, or you're moving runners along in terms of moving the offense. So you're not just an all or nothing type of batter. And so that can help you, they're not just going to look to walk you or things of that nature. That gives the pitcher something to think about as well. So it's great to see that those guys are able to do both, because it really makes you dangerous as a hitter when you can do that.
No doubt about it. Charles, what do you say about this batting average and home runs between some of these gentlemen?
Tremendous. When you take a look at what they're doing at the plate, Cardell Thibodeau, he's almost hitting 500 on the season. That just that froze me in my tracks right there. But it's almost sort of that you get a Barry Bonds effect. You got somebody that's sitting in the lineup that can really tear up some pitching, and you can pitch around them. So it's very interesting to see these guys that are at the top of the statistically are at the top of the SWAC in terms of what they're doing at the plate. But I tell you what, week in, week out, Dr. Cavil, you watch some players really put on a show at the plate. You mentioned Damian Garcia. He jumped up in the home run this past week. But Arkansas Pine Bluff had a young man, Brent Va. He's one of those type players as well. They couldn't get him out. He was on base all weekend. So it's very interesting to see some of these players that are taking advantage of some of the pitching in the SWAC.
I'm going to save the pitching to Thursday, but I do want to get into, as you said, talking about being on base. Look at those that are not only able to get on base once they get on the base, they're able to maybe take another or 2, which are stolen bases. Let's look at the top 5, starting with Kelton Phillips of Texas Southern University with 22 bags that he's been able to grab. You have Jacoby Ratcliffe with 25 for Southern, getting around those base paths in terms of taking them on his own. Jackson State's own Jordan McClatty is 26 in terms of what he's able to do. And then number 2, Trey Rutledge. Not only can he hit it in terms of second in the conference, he's also able to do his own damage in terms of muscling around the base pad. He is almost at 30 for the year. He's sitting at 29 to be exact. And then Bryce Hughes for Texas Southern University is leading the conference by far. He is 10 up on Trey at 39. He's nearly with 40 stolen bases on the season. Bryce Hughes is getting it done once he gets on base. With that being said, I'm going to stick with you, Charles. What are your thoughts?
And it continues with kind of the theme of the conference. I mean, this is known as a speed league, and you see that in the SWAC tournament. Once base runners become a premium, and you start playing a little small ball, speed really speeds up the defense, speeds up the field, and these are some of the best in the conference in terms of when they get on base, they're taking a bag. And the other thing about it produces some really good catchers in this conference too. You got some guys with some howitzers back there. They really come up, pop up time. They come up firing. So it's a nice cat and mouse week in, week out.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me slide it over, switch right in the middle of this. Let me talk a little bit about softball. I want to show them some love. I'm gonna give you the top four in the MEAC. I'm gonna give you top four in each division in the SWAC to kind of let you know as things start to close on the season as well. They get ready for these softball tournaments. You have North Carolina Central at 7-7. They're just 10-28 on the season. They have won 3 straight. You have Morgan State sitting at 9-6, 13-23. They've lost 4 though, so they're sliding. You have Norfolk State that are holding it down at 11-4, 18-17. They lost 1 in terms of the last series. And then you have Howard that's really getting it done, holding it down with 3-game lead in terms of the loss column. They sit at 14-1, 20-17 on the season. They've won 9 straight, so they certainly are hot on that side. When you talk about the SWAC, let's look at those top 4 in each division. We'll start with the East. For FAMU, the Rattlers are getting it done over there. They've won 5 straight. They sit at 14-4 in conference play, at 18-17. But 1 game behind them in the loss column is Bethune-Cookman. Sit at 12-5, 19-23 on the season, and they've won 6 straight. So they're playing some good softball. Alabama State, just 3 back of the lead of FAMU. They sit at 11-7, 13-29. They've won 1 straight as they had a tough conference play this week. And then Jackson State is sitting in that 4th slot right now at 10-7, 20-19. They have lost 1. So let's go from the East to the West. What we see in terms of the top 4, I start with Grambling sitting at 7-7. They lost 3 straight, so they just got swept. But you got Southern at 8-7. They lost 1. Texas Southern sitting at 11-7. They've won 1 of their game series they had this past week. You have Prairie View 14-3. Nice little cushion, if you would, in terms of leading the West Division. They swept Pine Bluff this past weekend on the road. They sit at 20-17. So, gentlemen, just wanted to give you a little update in terms of what's going on the softball side of things. Not too many things are really surprising anybody, but these rivalry series should be interesting when you talk about Prairie View and Texas Southern fighting it out for the West Division, and then FAMU and Bethune-Cookman, which really is in a tight one. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like going down the stretch. What I wanted to ask you, though, back to baseball as we kick off the second half of the conference play. We got 15 left in terms of the first 15 being played. Remember, this year you got a straight division, straight conference, no divisions, I should say. And now you have a big rivalry game this weekend. It's the top on my list. I kind of teased it out, which is Florida A&M Bethune-Cookman. You also have Southern at Arkansas Pine Bluff. Interesting in this, both of these teams are playing relatively well. One of these teams gets to make a statement if they can get 2 out of 3, somehow bring out the brooms. They're really going to do themselves a favor in terms of seeding in the tournament and, more importantly, just playing some good baseball. Then you got the rivalry game in Texas. Both of these teams need these games. Prairie View is struggling mightily. Texas Southern just got swept. Prairie View obviously got swept. In fact, they've gotten swept in terms of 2 of their last conference season conference, I said matchups, I said series, I should say. So I'm intrigued from that one, if anything other than that. Alabama State and Mississippi Valley. Alabama State cannot afford to find a way to not get the sweep, but they're on the road, and Valley has showed you that they can play some baseball. So it wouldn't stun me if they get 1, but that wouldn't help the Hornets in terms of where they sit. So that's another reason to kind of keep your eyes on that. Then you have Alcorn State versus Grambling State. Yeah, this is an old rivalry game between state borders. Alcorn State is struggling. Grambling State just got a sweep. They want to continue their momentum. Might not be close here, but you just never know when you get those 2 together. Then you have Alabama A&M, Jackson State. This is from the old East Division. Alabama A&M struggling. Always seems to find a way to play decent, but they're on the road, and Jackson State really needs to find a way to get the brooms going if they're going to make a move. That being said, I told you about the series, 6 conference games this week. Brandon, what are your thoughts? Which one kind of excites you, or 2 to keep that wants to have your eyes fixed on what you're going to be looking at for some of the baseball playing in the SWAC this weekend?
naturally you would gravitate toward looking at anytime the top two teams in a conference get it on. And so that goes without saying. Obviously they've been kind of showing the way all season. But I'm kind of interested in this Alabama State and Valley series because for a couple reasons, depending on what happens in those two series, you could see Alabama State jump into second place if they can get a sweep. If Bethune loses 2 out of 3, now you've got a battle for second place. So I'm very interested in that series for that reason. Valley's coming on; they're playing some good baseball, so it may not just necessarily be a walk in the park for the Hornets, but that will be one that I will find particularly intriguing.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me go to you, Charles. Which of these series grabs your interest in particular, and maybe a couple of other that you're going to at least keep your eyes on to see what's going on?
I think for me, Southern at UAPB. That one all of a sudden kind of sticks out for me because UAPB kind of turned some heads. They came in. Southern was on Texas Southern was on a 7-game win streak until UAPB came into Houston this past weekend and swept them. So now, when I start taking a look at the back half of the season, to me, I'm trying to look and see, are these quote unquote blue blood programs, Southern, Jackson State, are they going to make a run? And when you start taking a look at, Jackson State's schedule going forward, there is no Bethune-Cookman, there is no FAMU sitting out there for them to deal with. They got Alabama A&M this series. They go to Alcorn. Valley comes into Jackson. They go to Arkansas Pine Bluff, so that'll be interesting. But I'm going to be interested to see if these programs that have traditionally been right in the top tier of the SWAC, if they can make a run.
I agree with you. Good comments from both of you all in terms of baseball. As things start to heat up, we start to see a little separation. We have some people that are playing for seeding, and some people seem that they're already playing for next season. But we'll see what that all says as we start to close things up. With that being said, thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, come from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be back at Thursday at 6. Get prepared to check us out, and that's 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. With that being said, follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyTTACavil. That's Facebook and Instagram. Getting it done as well as Threads. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Brandon?
Of course.
Charles?
Lecture.
Dismiss.